All right. So I'm glad you guys are all here. Good morning. We are talking today about prompting. I think I actually called it ChatGPT prompts, but I really should have just said AI prompting, because what we're going to talk about is really how to effectively create prompts in any chatbot that you're using. So they'll all respond just a little bit differently, but an effective prompt will be an effective prompt. So we'll probably largely play around a little bit with ChatGPT because that's the easiest one, I think, for us to all play around with. I did learn from playing around with the different chatbots this week with my students that while Bing AI has some really great features to it, depending on what device you're on, you may or may not be able to use it through your browser. So if you're using Microsoft's Edge, you can use, of course, their chatbot Bing AI on anything. But if you have if you don't have Edge, there is a Chrome add-on to it. So if you happen to be using Chrome, that's easy. But I had a number of students who were on other devices and they were using maybe Safari or something else. And so it was a little bit harder to get to. But ChatGPT will generally be on any browser for anybody. So that's what we're going to kind of play around with today. There's a lot of great tips that I'm still learning too on how to create an effective prompt. And you sometimes hear that called prompt engineering. And I think I'm continuing to see that term. And people have crafted really effective prompts for different things you're looking for. So that's where we're going to spend our time today. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start with a Canva presentation that I put together, and I'm going to put the link in the chat so you guys can all pull it up on your end and or watch me on my end. So we'll start there. I put this together largely to give us kind of a starting place and a place to kind of have this conversation about prompting. So let me go ahead and share. And you guys, again, you can pull it up on your end or you can see it on my end. So we're going to start with just a few tips. And this is, of course, not a completely comprehensive list. These are just a few things that I put together in this one from grabbing from different presentations and different articles that also suggested tips for prompting. So I think, are used to asking it a question, just sort of like we Google search. So we sort of take our Google search and start in that place with ChatGPT. And that's a fine place to start. But there are a few things you should know that you can add to those questions or those requests that you're asking any chatbot that will make it more specific, and you have a higher likelihood of getting out of it what you need. So here are a few things that you should keep in mind. The first is you can always assign it a role. So tell it to take on the role of a third grade teacher or a high school teacher or a college administrator in the College of Education or whatever. You can truly be as specific as you want to be, and then the responses will come back with that lens in mind. So you can always assign it a role. Be as specific as possible and provide some context to it. So you might say, this is for an experienced group of students who have already done 2 semesters of XYZ course or something. You can give it a context for who this is being made for so that it'll get more specific. You can say, I'm looking for an activity and I want it to be 20 minutes. So it will keep timeframes in mind if you're looking to, if that's important to the output that you're looking for. You can ask it to align to standards. You can ask it to be something easy to implement. You can ask it to be in small groups. So the more information you give it about what you're trying to do, the more you will be happy with the response back. You can specify a format of your output. So you might say, I want this in a table format. I want this in a bulleted list. Whatever you want it to look like on your end, you can ask for it in that initial prompt. And you can also do these if you asked a prompt, or if you ask it something in a prompt and then you kind of forgot to say, oh no, I actually need this in a table. Of course, this is a conversation. And that's the other thing to keep in mind, is that this isn't just a one way, one search, I'm done. It is meant to be conversational. So you can continue to hone in what you're looking for. You can assign it a tone, which sounds a little bit funny, but if you're looking to create a letter and you're looking for that to be written in a certain way, tell it. So I want this to be friendly. I want this to be approachable. I want this to be professional, or I want this to be formal. You can even say, I want this to be funny, or I want this to be sarcastic, or I want this, and so on. So what you're looking for really will change the tone of what you get back. And we're going to practice with a few prompts too, so you guys can get a feel for what this looks like. You can control the output length. So if you're asking for a summary of something, or you're asking it to create, say, an abstract or a title or something, you can say, I need this to be 250 words, or I need this to be a certain number of characters, and specify that. And you might even play around a little bit with that. You might say, I want this to be 250 words. Be as close to 250 words as you can without going over, because 100 words is also under 250. So you might even need to be specific about, I want it to be as close to X words, or maybe you don't care that to that extent, it just can't go over. This sounds a little bit funny, and it might seem like it might get a little bit wordy, but you can include examples to help clarify what you're looking for. So one example would be, I'm looking for a short, catchy slogan like, just do it. And then it'll know kind of what you're looking for. Or you might say, one thing I read one teacher did is she needed a different version of a test. And she fed it a test and said, I want this to be in the same format as this, but the questions to be slightly different because it's version 2 of the test. So any information you can give it to about examples of what you're looking for is also helpful in the output that you'll be getting back. So to give us an idea, this is all great tips, but how does this really play out? I have, you know what, maybe Eileen, did you get the link to this, Eileen, or was it already in the chat before you came on?
No, I got it. Thank you.
Does anybody not have it? Did I miss anybody? Okay. So you guys can copy and paste from here. What I want you guys to do is we're going to play around with these just a little bit. Copy and paste these prompts out. And I think we'll also start to see, in addition to seeing AI tools, we're going to start seeing prompts that are being shared. If you're looking to do this, copy and paste this. OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT, just released last week a list of prompts for teachers to use to try to help them to hone in on what they're looking for. So you will start to see these example prompts out there to try out. So let's try this first one, and I'm going to do it too. So we're going to try in ChatGPT, draft a professional yet friendly email to students, reminding them of their upcoming test on, choose the topic of your choice. The email should include the exact date and offer encouragement. Also include a paragraph that reminds them of availability for extra help during office hours. So you guys grab that prompt, and I'm going to do it on my side as well in ChatGPT and see what kind of response you get. All right. All right. How did it do, you guys? I'll show you my example in a second, but anybody who did it, how good was it? How much tweaking? What did it get right? What did it get wrong?
Well, we can see your example.
Yeah, we can't see.
So I gave you two, actually. Where's one all the way at the top, and then I kind of added a second prompt to it to say, I really want to actually add a bulleted list about this. Let's give it a little bit more.
Sure.
And I wanted it to actually give me the specifics. And sometimes it does do that. I'm going to add another prompt and see if it will, but it gave me a spot for it. So how specific did it get for you guys? What was your topic? And was it a good starting framework?
Mine's a good starting framework. I did The Great Gatsby,
Okay.
but it's
Oh.
pretty, broad. I
Okay.
didn't give it any specifics about the book, and it didn't pull anything specific.
So try, now that you have that, ask it. See, can you add some more details about what this test will cover and see if it gives you any more?
Okay.
It may, and it might not. Did anybody else try it? Or an
Well-
upcoming event. Olivia, something like an event might be more appropriate for you rather than a test. Eileen, what was yours?
Well, so I misunderstood your prompt, and all I did was copy. I didn't add any topic.
Details.
But it's just incredible still. And I was comparing my response, the response that I got, to what yours is, and just noticing the subtle but differences. I mean, it's not the same thing. And I feel like what it produced for me was a perfect template, that all I would have to do is to plug in the office hours and the date of the test, and it's ready.
So
I
which,
did the same thing, Eileen. The first time I copied and pasted it, and mine's different too.
one thing that she said that's really important to remember is even if they put in, or you put in the exact same thing, you're not going to probably get the exact same thing back because it's generative. It is creating it on the fly. It is not pulling it from a template that it's finding online. It is pulling it from that moment in time, what it's going to give to you. So even the exact same prompt repeatedly will not give you the exact same answers. So you have to kind of try it. Ginger, when you asked it for more details, did it fill it in with details?
It's trying.
Okay,
It's the first time I've ever done this where it's super slow, like super slow. Because all I said was, can you add some more details about what this test would cover? And all I said up above was The Great Gatsby. So it's doing it, but it's really, really slow.
Let's see if mine goes any better. No, it didn't here. For me either. I want to try to show you another prompt. The reason I'm pushing this a little bit is it usually will pick up on the details of whatever topic if it knows something about it. And this one, it really isn't.
Mine did.
Okay, yours did. Okay, what'd you do, Joanna?
I did a test on the 25th on systems of equations. So I just did the typical, here's my office hours. And then I said, give more information on the ways to solve systems of equations. And it did exactly the order that usually you teach it: graphical, substitution, and then elimination. So yeah. And it included matrix. So yeah, I definitely did lots.
It got a little more detail in there. Okay, good. Yes. Mehmet, Olivia, were you successful at all?
Yeah, I did mine for a student advisory board meeting, to send an email to the students, and it got pretty specific about like helping shape the role of the institution, and it's actually pretty good. Yeah,
like some of the things I feel like that are in here, I either wouldn't say in that same way, or I wouldn't think to include this in it. And it does help to kind of, even if you're going to end up, kind of editing it later, it's still a good starting place.
I mean, I use it a lot actually with my emails. I used to use Grammarly, which is another application for grammar check. So, but I still have to write the frame. I have to type everything. It's just a recommendation. But for this one, this is like a detailed email. But the thing is, though, it looks like AI generated. So I still play around a little bit to make it sound more natural. So then after just fixing it, then I upload it to here again for grammar check, and then I get something nice and publish it.
I've even heard people putting in their prompts, basically things like stop sounding so much like a chat bot, or make this sound a lot more friendly, or whatever. And I think the better we get at those prompts, it'll feel a little less robotic in how it's coming back to you. This is kind of interesting about ChatGPT too. When you log in your custom instructions, there's an option here for adding in some instructions about yourself. So in Brady's history class, his teacher had them put in here, I am a sophomore student. I want my answers to come back in something understandable that I can relate to in short sentences and concise wording, or something like that, so that you can actually do it high level here, where you can say, I am a university professor. I always want my responses to sound blah, 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 blah. And so you could put those individually into each of your prompts, or you can kind of make a hierarchy, a higher level sort of always do this kind of thing. Okay, let's try another one. Let's go back.
And what I find very effective, so like I type that you are my quiz maker. I am teaching master's level ABA ethic course. I taught blah, blah, blah content this week, and type me 10 questions. And also I copy and paste the content, like 10 pages of content, and ChatGPT comes up with like 10 questions to me. That's good.
That's very helpful. Yeah, very. And again, the more information we can give it, the better it usually comes back for us. So I have a few more prompts here for us just to try. I'm going to let you guys pick anything that you want. There's some that are a little more education specific. There are some that are actually from the student perspective, because I think that the prompting we are helping our students to create will help them to quiz themselves on some things, or to pull resources for them. So the first 3, 4 are all sort of as an educator lens, and the last 2 are from the student lens. So anything that you want to modify that would be more appropriate for you, please do. So just take a minute and grab one of these that might be something you're interested in. Excuse me, and see how well it does for you. I'm actually, I think, going to try the create a game one and see how well it does for me. So grab any one that you want, put it in there. If it needs a follow-up question, go ahead and do it, and we'll come back to see how everybody did. Ginger's, you're still slow. Mine's kind of moving along okay now.
No, I actually went out and went back in, and I did the game, and it's already done.
Okay, so maybe it was just lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Then.
I've never seen it do that, because it's usually really, I mean, the few times.
Yeah, right.
Very fast.
Did everybody get one in there? Is it still generating? I asked it for a lot, so mine's still generating. But Ginger, you chose the game. So what was your prompt and how did it do?
So I did the one about the game for first grade students that was 20, and it did a time telling adventure.
Okay.
The objective of this game is to help first grade students practice telling time, and then it goes through the materials, the setup, the rules for the game duration. There's a reflection component that I didn't ask for, and then there's a thing that shows which standard it aligns to with Kentucky state standards.
Awesome.
Amazing.
It really is amazing. And again, I mean, part of the conversation I had with my students was, obviously you need to critically look at this. Is it actually the correct standard? Like one of the things, I think it might have even been that one, one of my students put in, and she said, yeah, it had the right first standard. And then the second one, it was a standard about money, which this one clearly isn't. So that's not right. And of course, AI is getting better all the time. So hopefully, you know, the mistakes will decrease, but it is always important to be critical about it.
Yeah. Mine just says the standard is tell and write time in hours and half hours using analog and digital clocks. So it's aligned.
Yep.
I wonder, like, if anybody else did this, like what was their topic even related to time telling? It's just interesting how it picked that.
Right. How about anybody else? What'd you do and how did it come back?
I did the
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
I did the quiz for the state capitals. And so it did that right away. And then I asked it for a key. And he goes, of course, here's the quiz for a key, including the correct answers.
So did you play the game? Were you able to, like, get one right or get one wrong? And then did it give you 2 tries?
It did. Yep.
This would have been helpful. Brady's taken a quiz on the periodic table today. I wish he had done this because I feel like he'd be more prepared, but I'm a little nervous for this quiz because he did not quiz himself on it as much as I hoped he would. Mehmet, what'd you do?
I did. So there's a topic in ABA, habituation and adaptation. Students confuse these two a lot. And I said, I am a first-year master's student in ABA. I am having a hard time to understand the difference between habituation and adaptation. Give me some examples. It gave me some examples. I'm like, so can you also summarize the differences in a table, including the examples in the same table? Now it gave me a table with examples, the definition and the difference for each term.
Awesome. I do love how you can kind of keep getting more specific. Like he said, okay, now give me some examples. Okay, now put it in a table for me. And it is a conversation where it remembers where you've been and then now where you want to go. How about Olivia or Eileen?
I changed mine to be a game. I did the game one, but I changed it to be more of like an icebreaker game for students who are I think I said help university students get to know each other that are meeting for the first time. And then I changed the last part. I said it should help them get to know important details about each other. And it gave a pretty good, like, basic icebreaker game that they could do in like groups of 5.
And if you weren't crazy about it, you could say, give me another 2 ideas, or be less this and more this, or whatever. So you can definitely keep saying, this isn't really what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Here's more of what I need. And Eileen, how about you? What'd you pick?
I didn't pick one of the prompts because I did something else that is a real need that I have to write a recommendation letter soon, for not one of our faculty, but somebody else. And they just came back with a beautiful letter. And but it gave me things that, like, it's really good. It gave me things to some of it's not accurate because it says like her dissertation research on such and such, but now I know that I can respond back and say, like, what great, actually her dissertation research is such and such, revise that part of it or something like that. Yeah.
And the more data, I'm sorry, Eileen, the more data you give, like, working, she's dependable and is a committee member for the, whatever, it'll put all that in there.
Yeah.
Could you put her resume in there, or would you have to like copy the text and put it in there? Could you
I think you could definitely copy and paste the resume and say, pull out important facts about this. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
But you couldn't you can't just put an attachment in there, right? Like you can't.
So good question. Not with this one. This one won't take, I don't know about the pro version because I haven't used it because, I'm cheap.
Yeah.
But a lot of the tools do allow you to upload a PDF or some other document in there and say, work off of this. This one doesn't, though.
But you could do the text, and I bet that would be interesting. Yeah.
For sure.
I used all the things that you just taught me, Shannon, about, I said, in a professional tone of about 500 words and, just all the things that I would not have thought to initially put in. And so then I would have probably been a little like, never mind, I'll just write it myself, which I'm going to. Anyway, that's another.
No, I do.
It's like this internal battle of I feel like I'm cheating.
Nope.
Agree.
I mean, it just says so.
We just had this conversation in the other hallway this morning, and recommendation letters actually came up in this conversation. And I don't know, in my opinion, it's not cheating. It's not, you are framing it. You're still going to tweak it because you will. I think allowing you to have a starting place and to fine tune what we're saying, I don't think that's a bad thing. And one of the examples I gave my students this week was a letter home to parents about what you're going to cover in the next unit. And I think sometimes, especially our first year students, our second year students, they don't always have all the words to be as articulate as they will further in their career. And so if it helps them to save some time and to be more professional in what they're putting out there, I think that's okay. I mean, of course, you want to make sure that it's accurate and that you are putting your personal components into it, but I don't know. I get that push-pull of that, but I'm trying to get over it.
Mhm.
I just thought of something when you said that, though, that I had talked to Eileen about. One of the assignments for student teachers is that they write a letter home introducing themselves to parents and to their students. And my student teacher put in there that she lived with her boyfriend, and I just thought, I mean, I struggled. I'm like, am I a prude or not?
Right.
But if she did something like this and said in a professional tone or
Exactly.
professional manner, it probably wouldn't have put that in there,
Right.
right?
Or would have said it in a way like, I enjoy spending time with my roommate, you know, like it
Yeah.
probably would have been.
Roommate, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, and it coming across that way is I think, hopefully going to make them better writers in the long run, where they'll know what to put in and what to take out, and what's appropriate. And maybe you'd even say, this is going home to my second grade students. I am a first year teacher. And it may even put it in that tone and understand that this is or this is my first letter home to parents. It'll pick up on those things too and write it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it a hard one. I asked it for a whole bunch of stuff on assignments, a rubric, a table format. So it gave it to me in multiple days. I didn't tell it how many days, but I probably should have. It gave me a timetable here, approximately of how long things would take. And it did connect it. I did Ohio standards, and it did connect for me as well. Okay, I want to, we could try out so many of these. I wanted to just show this quick example. This was one I actually just pulled off of a forum I'm in, and it was just yesterday, and it's long, but it's helping be an instructional coach, helping teachers to plan a lesson. And the way this prompt lays out, it actually tells the chatbot what questions to ask the teacher. So it's saying, introduce yourself and ask the teacher what topic they want to teach and what grade level. Wait for the teacher respond. Do not move on until the teacher responds. Next, ask the teacher, and so on and so on. It's actually kind of a computer program to force the chatbot to go at a slow pace and to almost to have the teacher fill in the blanks in case they're not as comfortable with prompt engineering. So there have been things that are written this way that are, say, first ask the student this question, then give them this. And so one way we can use this too is to create prompts that will help students to practice content, but we know exactly what it's practicing because we're creating the prompt for them to copy and paste in at home. So we can even develop these to send home as extra practice or even help tutoring or whatever as we get better at this. So it isn't just about what we're producing, but can we create prompts that will help our students or faculty or whoever to better engage with the chats. In the rest of what you guys have in your presentation, here is a list of resources for prompting. So we are all learning this. There are several on here that I have found that I think are really helpful, specifically for educators. So there's a prompt library for educators. I think it's that first one, which actually breaks it down into categories for teachers. If you're looking to create a rubric, here's an appropriate prompt for something like that. If you're looking to create an IEP, here is a prompt for that, and so on, just to start getting in the habit of what should go in those prompts. So these are just examples that will help. Some are content specific. There's some ELA prompts in there, and some are more kind of big picture holistic. This is the one I just mentioned that OpenAI just released last week, and it's meant to be helpful for teachers to use in their classrooms. And just a few more other resources that might be helpful as we're continuing to learn about all the things that are AI and how to kind of navigate this. This last one is a newer one for me. If we are looking to introduce this in our classes or we want students to get comfortable with this, they're short, 6 or 7 minutes, I think, YouTube videos on how teachers can use them and what students should know about AI. They looked like really good starting place for me. So there's so much more we could do with prompting, but I want to try to keep these short so they feel digestible for everybody. I'm happy to dive in more if anybody wants more details. Keep in mind this though, these same prompts, number one, will look different as we talked about before, even if you put in the same ones to ChatGPT on an hour from now. And they will look different depending on whether you're using Bard, which is Google's, or Bing, which is Microsoft's, or Claude, which is another one, or Perplexity, which is another one. They all work slightly differently. So know that playing around with those chatbots is a good idea too, to see what's going to maybe connect the best. One thing that's worth mentioning, I think I mentioned it at the first one, is ChatGPT 3.5. The data set for that ends at September of 21 currently. So anything you're asking it about very current, something that happened in the last 2 years, it's not going to know about. But Bing AI and the other chatbots are up to date. So know that too. Bing AI will also cite sources for things. So as it builds things, it will actually give you sources that it's pulling from. So it's easier to fact check, and it's a little more credible in that it's listing out, I got this data from these particular websites or this article or whatever. So there's a lot of ways to check your responses as you're getting them, especially outside of just ChatGPT. That's what we used because it's where people are comfortable and it's a good starting place. But know that there's lots of chatbots that will give you different kinds of data and ways to check that data too. All right. Anything that's sort of burning in your mind that I completely overlooked, or something that you want to ask about before we head out? All right. So in the next couple of sessions, we're going to talk about specific tools that I have found to be helpful in education, from creating quizzes to rubrics to quiz questions based on a YouTube video, things like that that might be helpful in our classes. So we'll dive into those a little bit. It's worth noting that most of those are pulling from the ChatGPT 4.0 database, so they are up to date. So once you get outside of that 3.5, these other tools that are tapping into it are using the more up-to-date database. All right, anything else, you guys? All right, thank you guys for coming. I hope you're walking away with something you didn't know before. And if you need any help or want to dive in a little deeper, just holler.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shannon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wealth
Bye.
of knowledge.